I hit the driveway a little after 7, the sky still chalk blue with morning, the kind of quiet that usually means coffee and a clean start, not a full-on ambush. The first red flag was a beat-up minivan with a sagging bumper taking my spot like it had a title to the concrete. The second was a stranger's skateboard in the flower bed I laid by hand last spring, wheels still spinning, grinding soil into the mulch I paid for. Inside, my house didn't sound like my house. There was a cartoon blaring somewhere, a baby crying, spoons clinking, and a man's laugh I didn't recognize. The smell hit next: diapers, sour milk, and spray deodorant trying to pretend it could keep up. I stepped into the hallway and stopped dead at the doorway that used to be my home office. The oak desk I'd refinished after Afghanistan was shoved against a wall, buried under pastel blankets. A crib squatted where my gun safe had been. Toys were scattered across my Persian rug like caltrips, and permanent markers ran happy little hieroglyphs up the fresh eggshell paint I'd rolled myself, chest high. A child's reach and a parent's indifference. 20 years in the army teaches you control. Teaches you there's the anger you feel and the anger you use. My fists clenched anyway. I unclenched them just as fast. "Eddie, you're home early," Monica called from the kitchen. That practiced sweetness wrapped around the words like a bow on barbed wire. A guy in a faded tank top drifted into the hall. Tattoo of a wolf on his shoulder. Beard that looked like it lost a fight with a weed whacker. He gave me a chin lift like we were teammates. "Yo, Derek," he said, as if the introduction explained the skateboard, the crib, the stink, and the trespass. I didn't answer him. I stepped around a plastic fire truck, picked up a purple marker off my rug, and capped it. A little boy, for maybe 5, watched me with chocolate on his face and curiosity in his eyes. None of this was his fault. Monica appeared in the doorway with a dish towel over her shoulder. Hair perfect, perfume too sweet for this much noise. "They just need a place to stay for a few weeks," she said, already moving past me like it was settled. Like the house I paid for and bled to keep wasn't mine to decide about. "Lana's having a rough patch." "Lana's rough patch," I said, slow, letting the words settle like dust, "is not a lease." From the dining room I caught the third red flag. My grandmother's china bowls, depression glass that had survived harder times, were lined up like cheap cereal troughs. Rainbow loops floating in milk that had sloshed onto the table and dried there in rings. Lana Parker came in balancing a baby on her hip, 2 more kids orbiting her ankles like tired moons. She looked wrecked in a way I couldn't blame her for. Eyes purpled with no sleep, hair in a knot, t-shirt that had surrendered. "Eddie, I'm so sorry," she said, genuine and small. "It's just temporary." Derek slid behind her, hand on the fridge door already. "We good, man?" he asked the deli drawer instead of me. "We're not talking, Derek," I said, and the quiet that followed had weight. He shut the fridge without finding anything. Monica's smile thinned. "Don't start." They had nowhere else to go. "I told you I'd explain." "You didn't tell me anything?" I said, keeping my voice level, each syllable clipped clean. "The way you talk on a radio when the wind is screaming past your ears. You made a decision in my house without me, and that's not a conversation. That's disrespect." Her eyes flashed quick annoyance, the kind she wore like mascara. "You're overreacting. It's family." I glanced at the walls. A family doesn't turn a man's office into a nursery without asking him. The family doesn't use his grandmother's bowls for cereal. Lana hugged the baby tighter. "I'll wash them right now," she murmured. "It isn't the bowls," I said, softer to her, not to Monica. "It's what it means." The kids were staring at me like I had brought the storm, not noticed it. I forced my jaw to loosen. "All right, ground rules. Starting now." Derek snorted. "Ground rules?" Like it was a punchline. I turned to him. "You'll want to hear this part, since you live here now." I let the word live hang there like a threat. "No smoking. No drinking in the house. The kitchen is cleaned after use. Kids don't draw on walls, only paper. You track what you break, and you fix it or replace it. You don't touch the gun safe." I stopped, eyes going to the empty corner where it used to be. "Correction. You don't go into my bedroom. Ever." Monica folded her arms, chin tipping up. You don't get to bark orders like this is a base. Then don't create a situation that requires command, I said, even, almost bored, because men who yell to be heard already lost the argument. You want them here? You own it. You manage it. And you tell me how long the temporary is with dates, not feelings. She opened her mouth, closed it again. That told me more than anything she'd said. I caught a twitch, her eyes going to her purse on the counter, the way a gambler checks a pocket for luck. The look was a hairline crack in glass. You might miss it if you weren't trained to see stress points. 2 weeks, she said finally. They'll be gone in 2 weeks. 7 days, I said. We'll review then. I'll bring a contractor to fix the walls and bill you. You'll bill me? She asked, incredulous. You made the decision, I said. I'm holding you accountable. Derek tried a grin, all gums and no teeth. This is kinda intense for breakfast. I stepped toward him once, just once, until the air changed and the kids stopped squabbling without knowing why. Don't mistake politeness for permission, I said. You're a guest of a guest. Act like it. He backed up with both hands raised, laughing like it helped. Didn't. I took the baby from Lana so she could open a formula can with both hands, the little body folding against my chest, warm and heavier than it looked. The kid's head smelled like powder and sweat, the kind of human truth that cuts through every argument. The baby's breath feathered my neck and something old and hard in me softened just enough not to break. In the garage, I finally let myself breathe. The concrete was the only honest thing left, cold, gray, flat. I set the baby back with Lana and walked out before Monica could start up again. Stood by my workbench with my hands on the edge, thumbs feeling the grooves I'd worn into the wood sanding a rifle stock last winter. I counted to 10 the way I taught recruits who thought counting was for children. At 8, I recognized the feeling in my chest wasn't rage. It was a ledger, debits and credits, disrespect in, consequences out. Back inside, I wiped cereal rings off the table and stacked the bowls myself, one careful dish at a time. 7 days, I repeated. Paper, not walls. Doors stay shut unless you're invited. And Monica, I waited until she looked at me. If there's something else I need to know, this is your last chance to tell me without me finding it. Her eyes flicked to the purse again, just for a heartbeat. And then she smiled that soft lie women learn in rooms where men are too tired to fight. There's nothing else. Good, I said, because if the truth wasn't in her, I'd dig it out of the world. Then we're done talking. I walked past Derek, past the crib that didn't belong and the walls that told the truth, and felt it in my bones the way you feel weather changing. Monsoon air in your lungs, metal in your mouth, that electric pressure that says the sky's gonna split. Chaos had moved in and made itself comfortable. But chaos is only a tactic and tactics crumble under strategy. 7 days, I promised myself. Then I'd start the evening on the ledger. Monica came home late 3 nights in a row, heels clicking on the hardwood long after midnight, her excuses wrapped in corporate buzzwords. The Henderson account, she said every time. A big client, demanding deadlines, meetings that ran over. I'd heard the lines before, enough years in uniform, enough years running private security to know when someone's giving you a cover story. But the Army teaches patience, and patience wins wars. I didn't confront her right away. I watched. I listened. I let the pattern reveal itself. Friday morning, her purse tipped over when she reached for her keys, spilling half her life across the kitchen counter. Wallet, receipts, makeup bag, and then something else. A slim black phone, scuffed but powered. Not the gold iPhone she always flaunted at brunch with her coworkers. This one hummed cheap and quiet, the kind of thing you buy with cash at a gas station. I thumbed it awake before she could snatch it back. No lock screen. She froze when she saw me holding it, eyes wide for just a second too long. The messages were there, lined up like bullets in a clip. Last night there was a fire. Same time Tuesday. Miss your mouth already. Don't let him suspect. Keep it smooth. Attached photos told the rest. Her in hotel mirrors, dresses half unzipped, skin flushed in ways I hadn't seen in months. And always the same name signing off, Brady Voss. I scrolled until my stomach went cold. 6 months back. The exact window when I'd been killing myself 12 hours a day to save my security consulting business, clawing clients back from bankruptcy while she whispered that she was proud of me. Every late night she claimed she was crunching numbers. She was in someone else's bed. "Give me that," she snapped, hand darting for the phone. I held it out of reach. "Brady Voss," I read aloud, letting the name hang. "Who is he?" Her jaw tightened. "Work contact." I barked a short, humorless laugh. "Work contact? He seems really invested in your underwear schedule." Her tone turned sharp, defensive. "You're blowing this out of proportion. That's private. You had no right." "No right?" I cut her off. "You move your sister and her circus into my house without a word, eat off my grandmother's dishes, and now you tell me I have no right to know who you're screwing behind my back?" Her mask slipped then, just for a beat. Rage, fear, guilt maybe, but mostly calculation, the way a poker player counts cards. "You think you're so perfect?" she spat. "Always judging, always in control. Maybe I wanted something different. Maybe I deserved it." I let the words sink, slow and deep, the way an enemy's taunt echoes across a radio. My fists wanted to clench, but I made them relax. Anger is fuel, not fire. "How long?" I asked. She looked away. Silence stretched. "How long?" I repeated, colder. "6 months," she muttered finally. "Off and on." My laugh this time wasn't humorless. It was sharp, cutting. "Off and on? That's what you call hotel rooms and burner phones?" "Off and on." Her eyes narrowed, and she tried another tactic. "If you push this, Eddie, I'll call a lawyer. This is my house too. You raise your voice again, I'll say you intimidate me. You know how that plays in court." That was the tell. Right there. She'd rehearsed this, probably lined up friends to back her story, maybe even Lana. She wasn't just covering an affair. She was staging an ambush. I stepped back, pocketing the burner. "You've been sloppy," I said. "Sloppy enough to leave me the evidence." Her lips parted, but I didn't wait for another excuse. I grabbed my jacket off the chair and headed for the door. "Where are you going?" she demanded. "Out," I said, voice level, steady as a rifle shot. "And when I come back, we're going to settle this on my terms, not yours." The door shut behind me, and the night air hit cool against my skin. I could feel the fury building, but it was no longer raw. It was shaped, focused, the kind of anger that doesn't explode but waits, sharp and patient, until the moment is right. She thought she had the upper hand. She thought moving Lana in, staging chaos, was cover enough. But now I had names, dates, and photos. Now I have clarity. And clarity is the first step toward war. The army taught me plenty of things, but one rule stuck harder than the rest. Never fight the wrong battle on the wrong ground. Standing in that house with Monica barking legal threats like she was reading off a script, I knew I'd already lost the terrain. She had home field advantage, and she was using it. So I packed. Not in anger, not in panic. Deliberate. A duffel bag with the basics: boots, jeans, shave kit, sidearm locked in its case. No theatrics. I wanted her to see the difference between leaving and retreating. Retreat is a strategy. Retreat means you're regrouping, not surrendering. She trailed me down the hall like a prosecutor. "You can't just walk out. You think that looks good in court? You think a judge won't see abandonment?" I zipped the bag without looking at her. "Better than a police report for shouting too loud. That's what you're building, right?" Her silence told me I wasn't wrong. I stepped into the garage and hit the door button. The motor growled, the panels rattled upward, and the morning light poured in. My Ford F-150 sat there steady and loyal, steel gray, a working man's rig, not some plastic import. I threw the duffel on the passenger seat and turned back once. "You wanted a war, Monica. You'll get one, but not on your terms." The drive to Duke Miller's apartment was quiet except for the hum of the road. Duke had been my squad leader back in Kandahar, a mountain of muscle with a bald head and a grin like a bear that's learned chess. If I was fire, he was ice, and together we made it back from plenty of places that wanted us dead. He opened the door shirtless, beer in hand, tattoos sprawling across his chest like topographic maps. "Jesus, Eddie." You look like somebody stole your rifle. Close, I said. I dropped the duffel inside and sat heavy on his couch. Monica's been cheating. 6 months. A guy named Brady Voss, VP type, thinks he's slick. Duke whistled low. Hell. He sat opposite me, elbows on knees. What's your move? I pulled the burner phone from my jacket and set it on the table between us. She's sloppy. I've got enough here to burn her story down. But she's already talking to lawyers. Abuse claims. She's been planting seeds. Duke picked up the phone, scrolled a minute, then set it back. His face stayed calm, but his eyes had that sharp light I knew too well. She's running an offense. That means she's been at this longer than you think. You don't make legal threats out of nowhere. She's building a case. I leaned back, hands steepled. Witnesses. Her sister, easy. Maybe the boyfriend, too dumb to realize he's just a pawn. Neighbors, co-workers, anybody she's fed a story to. She's making you the villain in her new play. I rubbed the scar on my forearm, the one I got from shrapnel in Helmand. All while I was breaking my back to keep my business alive. That's how they do it, Duke said, voice flat. They hit you where you don't look. You're watching your six, and they're poisoning your chow. I laughed once, bitter. So what's the play, coach? First rule, he said, leaning forward. Don't swing first. She wants you to be angry, reckless. You give her that, she wins. Second rule, you build your own case. Paper, witnesses, timelines. You do it quietly. You do it right. By the time she makes her move, you've already got the counterpunch cocked. I nodded slowly. This was why I came. Not to vent, not to cry in my beer. To regroup. To plan. Duke cracked another beer, slid it across the table. You've still got friends, Eddie. Me. Some of the old crew. You tell me what you need, and we'll make it happen. But you've got to stay cold. No more walking back into that house swinging. I raised the bottle, clinked it against his. Cold, then. Cold, he echoed. I sat there a while, the weight of betrayal pressing down but not crushing me. I thought of Monica's eyes darting to that purse, of her threats, of Brady's name glowing on that cheap phone screen. She thought she had me cornered, but she'd forgotten who she married. Retreat wasn't defeat. Retreat was repositioning. And once I was in position, the counterattack would be decisive. Murphy's Bar was the kind of place where the wood floor was permanently sticky, the neon signs buzzed like hornets, and the regulars didn't ask questions. It wasn't the kind of joint a guy like Brady Voss should have walked into, which is why I chose it. Men like him, polished suits, slick hair, manicured hands, felt out of place in bars where the jukebox still ate quarters. He showed up right on time, like a man used to scheduling other people's lives. Navy blazer, loafers, no tie. He ordered a Scotch neat, sniffed it like it offended him, then slid into the booth across from me. His watch alone cost more than my truck's transmission, but I could tell right away it wasn't paid for. Men drowning in debt always smell faintly of desperation, no matter how much cologne they pour on. Eddie Parker, he said with a rehearsed smile, as if we were at a networking event. Thanks for meeting. I leaned back, arms folded, letting him think he had the stage. Brady Voss. Thought I'd get a look at the man who's been keeping my wife busy. He smirked, no shame, no hesitation. Monica and I, we're good together. She told me you'd take it hard. Military types usually do. That earned him a small laugh from me. Controlled, steady, the kind you give an enemy who doesn't realize he's already inside the kill zone. You're sitting in a dive bar telling a man his wife is happier in your bed. That arrogance, Brady, is why you're going to lose. He bristled just enough to show the first crack. Look, she's not your future. She's mine. You do well to let her go before this gets ugly. Ugly's my specialty, I said, sipping my beer. And you've already made it personal. He leaned forward, lowering his voice like we were partners in crime. Eddie, I'm not your enemy. You've had your time. Let her move on, and we can all avoid unnecessary fallout. That word hung there oily and smug. He thought he was negotiating. He thought this was about pride. I let a beat pass, then stood, sliding my wallet back into my pocket. You think you've won something here, Brady. What you don't understand is that you just introduced yourself. And I never forget a face. He blinked, confusion tightening around his eyes, but I didn't give him the dignity of a second glance. I dropped a 20 on the table for my beer and walked out, feeling his smug smile burning into my back. He thought I was backing down. Out on the sidewalk, the night air cut clean and cold. I lit a cigarette, something I hadn't done in years, and let the smoke curl. My chest was calm, steady, but my mind was already moving pieces across a board only I could see. Brady Voss wasn't just an affair. He was a man with a failing company, dead up to his polished hairline, and a desperate need to prove himself. He thought Monica was leveraged, maybe even a shield. But arrogance makes men sloppy. I flicked the cigarette into the gutter and walked toward my truck. Let Brady enjoy his drink. Let him think he'd rattled me. All he'd really done was step into the ring, and I never enter a fight I don't intend to finish. I told Monica I'd be back to collect some tax documents and contracts I needed for a client. She didn't argue, too eager to believe I was tucking tail and leaving her on the battlefield. That suited me fine. When I pulled into the driveway, the van was parked half up on the lawn, one tire sunk in mud. The sight tightened something in my chest. A man spends his life building order, and you can measure the respect people have for him by how they treat his ground. Inside was worse. My oak coffee table gouged with some kind of toy sword, couch cushions torn, stained. Beer bottles tipped on their sides, dripping into the carpet. The smell of diapers and cheap lager blended into something thick enough to chew. Derek was slouched at the table, headset on, barking into a phone about next week's deal. The screen in front of him showed online poker, not business. His shirt was off, belly slick with sweat. A king without a kingdom. He waved at me like I was the guest. "Yo, Eddie. Monica said you'd be stopping by." I didn't answer. My eyes tracked past him to Lana, standing by the sink, wrist deep in soapy water, face gray with exhaustion. The kids were a blur of motion, two tearing through the hall with toy guns, the baby crying in a playpen that used to be where my bookshelf stood. I kept my voice level, the way you do when you need control more than satisfaction. "Derek, take a walk." He blinked, pulled the headset down. "What?" "You heard me." He chuckled, nervous. "Man, this is my house now too." I stepped closer, just enough that he felt the air shift. "You're a guest of a guest. Don't confuse that with ownership." Now, his eyes darted to Lana, hoping for backup. She didn't look up from the sink. Finally, he shuffled to the porch, muttering. That left me with her. I leaned against the counter, watching her hands work through plates that weren't even clean to begin with. "You know this is unsustainable." Her eyes brimmed, but she didn't stop scrubbing. "I didn't want this, Eddie." She begged me, said you'd understand, said you'd hit me if I didn't go along. I stilled. "She told you that?" Lana nodded once. Quick. "She said you were dangerous, that you had a temper, that if I didn't back her, you'd make me regret it." The plate in her hands slipped, clattered into the sink. I caught it before it cracked, set it down soft. Has she ever seen me raise a hand to anyone who didn't deserve it? "No," she whispered. There it was, the fracture line. Monica had been building her case, and Lana had been drafted as a witness. But cracks were showing, and the truth was leaking out. I pushed off the counter, kept my tone even. "I'm not here to fight you, Lana. You and the kids, you're collateral. But Monica, she's waging a war, and she's lying to you to make it stick." For the first time, her eyes met mine. They were tired, but something shifted in them, doubt, maybe even guilt. I used that moment. "I need to grab some files from the bedroom. Don't let Derek back in until I'm done." The master bedroom smelled like Monica's perfume and someone else's cologne. I forced myself not to dwell on that. Instead, I pulled a slim digital recorder from my pocket, courtesy of Duke's stash, and set it inside the nightstand drawer, mic angled toward the bed. The kind of place where secrets spilled without meaning to. As I stood there, I took in the room. Sheets rumpled, not from sleep but from carelessness. A wine glass tipped over on the dresser. her purse half open, another phone cord peeking out. Evidence everywhere if you knew how to read it. I closed the drawer, straightened the sheets, and left the room exactly as I found it. On my way out, Lana touched my arm. Eddie, if she's lying about you, about everything, I don't want to be part of it. Her voice was low, almost ashamed. You don't have to be, I said. Just stop covering for her. That's all I ask. Outside, Derek had wandered back, cigarette dangling. He opened his mouth, but one look at my face shut him up. As I drove off, I thought about the house. Walls marked with crayons, furniture gutted, the smell of rot where there should have been polish. A house tells the truth people won't. And mine was screaming what I already knew. This wasn't just infidelity. Collapsed. The foundation was cracked. And once a foundation cracks, the whole structure's days are numbered. Murphy's Bar again, late on a Thursday night. I'd chosen the spot on purpose, neutral ground, noisy enough for cover but quiet enough for a private corner. Monica walked in looking like hell. Her hair was perfect, as always, but her eyes told the story. Bloodshot, frantic, rimmed with panic. She wasn't the ice queen from a week ago, throwing legal threats like grenades. She looked hunted. She slid into the booth, clutching her purse like a lifeline. You can't keep following me, she hissed. I'm not following you, I said. I'm intercepting you. Her eyes darted toward the door, then back to me. You don't understand. Brady isn't who you think he is. He's dangerous. He's broke. He's threatening me. I took a slow sip of my beer. So the lover boy turned out to be a con artist. Imagine my surprise. This isn't funny, she snapped, voice rising before she pulled it back down. He said if I don't help him, he'll go to my boss. He'll tell them everything. He could ruin me. I leaned forward, elbows on the table. Ruin you? Monica, you did that yourself the moment you chose him over me. She flinched, then reached across the table, her hand hovering just shy of mine. Please, Eddie. I made a mistake. I see that now. But I need you to protect me. He's not letting me leave. He keeps my keys, my phone. He follows me to work. I don't know what to do. Her voice cracked, and for the first time since this war started, the mask was gone. No boardroom composure, no sharp edges. Just fear. I didn't move my hand closer. I let the silence stretch, let her sit in the consequences of every lie, every betrayal. Then I said, You built this bed, Monica, and now you're terrified to lie in it. Her eyes watered, mascara smudging. I know. I thought he loved me. I thought he'd take care of me. But he's using me, Eddie. He said I was leveraged. That if you came after him, he'd drag me down with him. Please, I'm begging you. Don't let him destroy me. There it was, the opening. She wasn't asking for forgiveness. She was asking for survival. You expect me to risk myself for you after you tried to set me up as an abuser? I asked. I'll admit everything, she whispered, desperate now. I'll tell Lana the truth. I'll back off the lawyer talk. Just help me get away from him. I sat back, studying her. The woman who'd looked me in the eye weeks ago and told me she deserved her affair was now crumbling under the weight of her choices. She'd played offense, stacked the deck, and thought she was clever. But all it took was one man more ruthless than she was to turn her into prey. I could have left her there, let Brady chew her up. But something sharper clicked into place. Brady's arrogance had blinded him, and Monica's fear made her pliable. Together, they were the perfect tools to set the trap. Fine, I said finally, my tone like steel. You want protection? You'll earn it. You're going to do exactly what I tell you when I tell you. No improvising, no lies. You give me Brady's routines, his habits, his weak spots. And in return, I'll make sure he doesn't bury you with him. She nodded fast, too fast, like a drowning woman clutching at any rope. Yes, anything. I stood, sliding out of the booth. Then it starts tonight. You're going to stay with him. You're going to play the role until I say otherwise. And you're going to give me every word, every fight, every threat. Understand? Her lip trembled, but she nodded again. I left her sitting there, broken and shaking. Outside, I lit a cigarette and drew deep, the smoke burning clean down to my lungs. Monica wasn't redeemed. She wasn't forgiven. But for the first time, she was useful. And when you're fighting a war, every weapon counts, even the ones that once cut you. Duke always said, "Don't hunt a wolf head-on. Bleed him with his own teeth." That was the strategy here. Brady was arrogant, Monica was terrified, and I had the discipline to shape both into weapons. We met in Duke's apartment, the air heavy with cigar smoke and the low rumble of a football game on mute. Monica sat small on the couch, no makeup, hair pulled back. Stripped of the armor she used to wear, she looked like a woman who'd aged 10 years in 10 days. Duke leaned forward, forearms like tree trunks on his knees. "So this slick bastard keeps you close, takes your keys, tracks your phone?" Monica nodded. "He said if I ever left, he'd ruin me. He's already threatened to send photos to my company." I exchanged a look with Duke. That told us everything. Brady wasn't just a cheater. He was a control freak trying to own her like property. "All right," I said, calm and cold. "Then we use that leash against him. You'll move in with him officially. Pretend you're choosing him over me. Meanwhile, you plant this." I set the recorder on the coffee table. Slim, black, voice-activated. The same kind I'd carried in Helmand to catch informants double-dealing with the Taliban. It didn't care who lied. It just recorded. Her hands shook when she picked it up. "And if he finds it, then you make sure he doesn't." Duke tapped a folder thick with papers. "While you're doing that, we've got another angle." My contacts in finance pulled Brady's records. He's cooking the books. Fake invoices, shell companies, loans stacked on loans. His business is a house of cards. All it takes is one push, and it comes down on his head. Monica's eyes widened. He said everything was fine." I laughed sharply. "That's his whole life. Everything is fine while the ground caves under him. You just didn't notice because you were too busy enjoying the perks." She flinched, but I didn't let up. Pain teaches faster than comfort. The plan was set. Monica would act like Brady's partner, feeding him confidence, while the recorder captured his threats, his financial confessions, his desperation. Duke's contacts would quietly leak the cooked books to Brady's partners and bank. 2 fronts, 1 collapse. But Brady didn't play by rules. The night before the hammer was supposed to fall, Monica called me, voice shaking like dry leaves in wind. "Eddie, he took my phone. He has my keys. He won't let me leave." I was already moving before she finished the sentence. Duke grabbed his jacket, a steel baton sliding into his sleeve. We drove fast, no music, no words. Just focus. Brady's loft was on the riverfront. Glass, steel, a monument to money he didn't actually have. When Monica didn't answer the buzzer, I forced the lock, quiet and quick. Inside, her purse was on the floor, contents scattered. From the bedroom came muffled sobs. Brady was pacing, shirt unbuttoned, phone in hand. He looked up, startled, then sneered. "You don't belong here, Eddie. You don't belong anywhere," I said. He puffed his chest, trying to bluff. "She doesn't want you. She's with me now." Monica, curled on the edge of the bed, shook her head violently, tears streaking her face. "No, Eddie, please. He won't let me go." That was all Duke needed. He moved first, one hand on Brady's shoulder, the other twisting his wrist until the phone clattered to the floor. Brady buckled, cursing, but Duke had him pinned against the wall in seconds, calm as if he were showing a rookie how to field strip a rifle. I stepped close, nose to nose with the man who thought he'd stolen my life. "You just crossed from cheating into criminal. Unlawful restraint, threats, witness in the room, evidence on the recorder. You're finished, Brady." He tried one last smirk, but his eyes betrayed him. Arrogance doesn't last when a man knows he's cornered. We called the cops, handed him over like trash on collection day. Monica sobbed into her hands while they cuffed him. I didn't comfort her. I wasn't her savior. I was just the man who'd decided Brady Voss wasn't going to own one more inch of my life. When the squad car pulled away, Duke clapped my shoulder. "One wolf down." "Yeah," I said, watching the taillights vanish. "Now let's burn down his den." News travels fast in the corporate world, faster than bullets in a firefight. Within 48 hours of Brady's arrest, his name was plastered across every business outlet that mattered. Tech CEO charged with unlawful restraint. That was just the start. Duke's financial contacts had worked like clockwork, feeding the right documents to the right hands. By Monday morning, his board of directors called an emergency meeting. Tuesday, the bank froze his accounts. Wednesday, lawsuits from partners stacked up like sandbags. By the end of the week, the man who bragged about building an empire couldn't cover his own payroll. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. Watching an arrogant man choke on his own lies is satisfying enough. Monica's name didn't stay clean either. She was tied to him: emails, texts, nights spent in his loft. Photos leaked, and soon whispers at her firm turned into official meetings. By Friday, her resignation for personal reasons hit the company newsletter. Translation: she was finished. I walked through my house that weekend like a man inspecting battle damage. The beer bottles were gone, the trash cleaned, the rug scrubbed. Lana stayed on with the kids, doing her best to patch the chaos. Derek? He'd slunk back to his ex-wife the moment the pressure got real, proving what we already knew. Some men vanish when they're needed most. Lana caught me one evening, standing by the window with the baby in her arms. "Thank you," she said softly, "for letting us stay. I'll find a way to make this right." I shook my head. "Just keep the kids safe. That's enough." It wasn't about Lana. It wasn't even about Monica anymore. It was about restoring order to a life someone else had tried to hijack. Out in the garage, I sat at my workbench, running my thumb over the grooves in the wood. 20 years in the army had taught me plenty about destruction, but also about rebuilding. You clear the rubble, shore up the walls, and lay new foundations. That's how you survive. Brady's empire collapsed in a matter of days, but the damage he and Monica caused in my house would take longer to scrub out. Still, for the first time in months, I felt steady. The ledger I carried in my head, the one that marked every insult, every betrayal, was finally balanced. Monica called once, voice raw, begging for a chance to explain. I let it ring out. Explanations don't patch bullet holes. They don't unburn bridges. By the second week, Brady was facing not just lawsuits but fraud charges. His lawyers scrambled, but a man that sloppy doesn't survive scrutiny. The empire he built on lies had crumbled to dust, and the woman who thought she could ride it to a better life was left standing in the wreckage. As for me, I reclaimed my ground one room at a time. My home was mine again, my dignity intact, and my future cleaner than it had been in years. 3 months later, I was standing in line at a coffee shop downtown. The place was busy. Students with laptops, office drones with earbuds, construction crews grabbing caffeine before the next shift. Ordinary life humming along. No hint of the war I just walked through. That's when I saw her. Monica sat alone by the window, hands wrapped tight around a paper cup. She looked older, thinner, the sharp confidence gone from her face. Her makeup couldn't hide the lines carved deep by stress. When she noticed me, her eyes widened, then softened. For a second, I saw the woman I married, before the lies, before Brady, before the rot. She stood, walked over, voice low. "Eddie." I didn't answer right away. I let her carry the weight of the silence. "I've been in therapy," she said finally, words spilling like she'd rehearsed them. "Court-ordered, partly. Voluntary, too. They're making me face things I didn't want to face. My choices, my lies. I hurt you in ways I can't take back." Her eyes glistened, but I didn't see the manipulator anymore. Just a broken woman trying to stitch herself together. I nodded once. "Good. Facing it's the only way forward." She swallowed hard. "I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know I'm trying." I studied her the way I used to study enemy positions through binoculars, calm, detached, weighing threat versus irrelevance. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt no anger, no bitterness, just distance. "You were right about one thing," I said. We were over a long time ago. I just didn't see it. But now, I exhaled steadily. Now I'm free. Her lip trembled. She nodded, wiped her eyes, and went back to her table. I picked up my coffee and stepped out into the cold air, the city buzzing around me. For the first time in what felt like forever, my shoulders weren't tight, my chest wasn't burning. The war was over. I'd lost a wife, but I'd kept my dignity. I'd faced betrayal, but I'd never bent. And in the ashes of what collapsed, I found something better than revenge. Peace.
Subscribe and stay one step ahead of cheaters. And trust me, the next story makes this one look like a fairy tale.